probably looking at this shirt thinking, what does he look like? Well, for a little bit of context, the reason I'm wearing this monstrosity, beauty, whatever your thoughts are on it, is because later today, as I record this, is Saturday morning, we're off on the dog walk. I'm going to Twickenham to watch the Premiership final. Believe, if I remember rightly, Northampton Saints versus Exeter Chiefs. Should be a good day. Anyway, that's not what you came here for. Although, also, I'm wearing a pair of shorts today. I turned around at the missus as we was coming out. She said, "Oh, what are you wearing your shorts for?" I said, "Oh, I want to drive the women crazy." And she turned around to me and said, "You do that anyway." I thought she was paying me a compliment. And then I saw her facial expression. It came very clear to me we weren't talking about the same definition of the word crazy. Anyway, let's get stuck into it. There's been plenty of stories. As hey, I've put lots of content out on the channel, which I'm sure you've seen and are well equipped with a lot of my thoughts. But I thought we'll just get this out there as well. Now, this will be an overarching conversation. It won't be any one topic in particular, so it will lurch from one to the other. But if you're new around here, then please hit the like button. That really would be appreciated. Hit subscribe as well and the notification bell, and drop a comment in the section below. All these things, as I say, helps to kick the old YouTube algorithms into life and pushes it out to places it might otherwise not get. We're growing as well. As I record this, 2012 subscribers. Woo! Anyway, let's get stuck into it. Mateus Fernandes is the big one as far as transfers out from West Ham is concerned, or anticipated transfers out. He has attracted quite a lot of interest. Real Madrid, Manchester United, Arsenal, all very keen to get him through the door. Some really top clubs. And as I understand it, Tottenham have got involved as well. Now, personally, I think if Mateus Fernandes has got any sense, and I'm not saying this from a strictly, purely West Ham fan point of view, although maybe the West Ham fan in me does come out in this next comment, I don't think he goes to Spurs. I don't think he should go to Spurs. They can't offer him European football of any description. They have finished the last 2 seasons in 17th place. Now, I know that Roberto De Zerbi will be doing his best to do something about that. But it was a hell of a risk, don't you think? For Fernandes, he must look at that, and his agent, who I believe is George Mendes, the same agent that Nuno has, and he must look at that as a pro and go, well, wait a minute, they've had 2 consecutive seasons where they've come bloody close to falling through the trapdoor. Not so sure that would be a great move for him. You can go to the Premier League champions against that. The team that were runners-up in the Champions League final. Obviously, they're North London rivals. You can also throw Manchester United into the mix. They have Champions League football to offer as well. Arguably, and Liverpool fans might push back against this, Arsenal fans might push back against this, but I would say still the biggest name in English football, Manchester United, for all of their history and heritage. And like I say, Real Madrid, the biggest club in world club football. End of story. Now, the good news for us is if these 4 clubs are involved, it pushes the price up. Pushes the price up. A bidding war is good for West Ham. Because we've also got to remember that there is a 15% sell-on clause that we need to honour as far as Southampton are concerned for Fernandes. Now, what I'm not sure about, and I've not seen any news articles that's really ironed this one out for me, is does Fernandes, is this 15% sell-on clause, is this on the total sum or is this on profit? Because obviously, let's say 80 million quid is the figure I've heard bandied around. So if it's 80 million pounds that we get and the contract is a 15% sell-on clause on any profit above what we bought him for, then we bought him for, as I understand it, 38 million. So if we move him on for 80 million, then our profit is 42 million. Quick bit of maths. So 15 million, sorry, 15 million, 15%. So 10% of 42 is 4.2, 5% is 2.1, so 15% is 6.3 million. So in that scenario, Southampton would get 6.3 million. If it's 15% on the total, and we've got 80 million, well, now they're talking about getting 12 million. So the more money that goes into our coffers, great, but we've got to remember that there's a little deal that we've got to honour with Southampton. So we won't get all of the 80 million or whatever he goes for. Now, also, the talk is that Crysencio Somerville bursting onto the scene at the World Cup has caused quite a lot of interest from various clubs again looking at him. Manchester United are again the one that seem to be the big movers and shakers as far as that's concerned. I mean, he's done really well, hasn't he, Somerville? I mean, that was his first call-up. His first call-up to the Netherlands team is for the World Cup, and he makes his World Cup debut against Japan and scores a great goal. Playing on the right as well, which is normally the position when he was playing at West Ham that Jared Bowen occupied, so he would play on the left. But I do remember the very first game of the Graham Potter era, which seems like a lifetime ago now. Crysencio Somerville was deployed as a right wing-back away at Aston Villa in the FA Cup. Had a good game as well. I think he got injured in the second half, I'm sure that's right. But he played really well there. I remember that. And so it's no surprise to me that he's had a really good game against Japan. And now, off of the back of that, there's some real interest. And as I said in an earlier video, I think if we can get what is a fair price, a reasonable price for us, £80 million for Fernandes, as I say, bidding war is going to push the price up. And Fernandes, and Somerville, excuse me, gets more momentum at the World Cup. That will mean, like I say, I'm told we're 150 mil in debt. Those two going for the right price could pretty much wipe out on its own that £150 million shortfall. After that, and you're going to have to excuse me because there's my dog and another dog that's opposite, and they're having a conversation, as you can hear. This is the danger of doing content when you're out and about with a dog that doesn't like other dogs. I know. But anyway, so as I say, the knock-on effect of that is that I think we're probably going to keep quite a lot of the players, not all, but quite a lot of the players that will be able to bring us straight back up, I hope. Now, also, all of the news about Daniel Kretinsky, David Sullivan, Amanda Staveley, all very exciting. All very exciting. Stadium talk as well. He ain't mucking about, is he? Kretinsky, he's come in, he's set about things. But I suppose, when you think about it, he's probably been sitting there for, 4 years, however long he's been here now, and just watching, observing, being quite patient. Now he's in the hot seat, and like I say, there's been talk about kitting out Rush Green with modular buildings because Nuno, when they had the conversation where Kretinsky made it clear, I want to keep you, that Nuno pushed back and said, well, look, this club's training facilities are like second rate, not even that. So look, if you want to keep me, you got to do this, we need this. And Kretinsky has said, yeah, okay. And he's started the ball rolling as far as that's concerned. But we're also, as I say, as I understand it, looking possibly to get a proper purpose-built complex built out towards Basildon and places like that. They're looking into the feasibility. Time will tell on that. But also to talk about London Stadium Daniel wants to sit down with Sadiq Khan, the mayor's office, and iron that one out. I mean, it does beg the question, why could this not have all been done under the previous regime? But I think we probably know the answer to that. I mean, they was always running it on a shoestring. I went back and looked at certain videos that I and other YouTube content creators have put out there regarding West Ham. The one in, one out policy of David Sullivan. Bloody hell. It's not a bit bring and buy sale, mate. It was when you had it. It wasn't when you gave it up. It was a Premier League club. And we was operating just like amateurs. Absolute amateurs. Oh, well, we need to get rid of this player before we bring in that player. And it wasn't just last season. Let's look at the facts. That wasn't just a theme that played out in the last summer transfer window. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. But look, onwards and upwards. It's still, even now, 2 weeks after David Sullivan moved on, and there has been quite a lot of positivity. The weird thing is, the transfer window opened, and we've not signed anyone. Steve Nixon, that's another one that is still playing out as I record this, I believe. It looked like he was all done. Now, there's talk that Ryan Reynolds is sniffing around, wants to tempt him to Wrexham. I'm hoping that the talk about Amanda Staveley isn't a load of old nonsense. I'm hoping that if Steve Nixon knows something that maybe we don't, excuse me, oh, sorry about that, that if Steve Nixon knows something maybe we don't, that Amanda Staveley is pretty far down in negotiations, and I've had, I don't want to get called an ITK, but I am aware that there has been a lot of talk behind the scenes, and there's a lot of people at the club that think this is happening. There's a lot of people at the club that believe Amanda Staveley is going to get involved. It's not signed, sealed and delivered. Things go wrong. I remember years ago, and I'm going to show my age here, a lot of talk in the media, I think it was late 80s, early 90s, about a bloke called Michael Knighton, who everybody thought he was going to take over at Manchester United. This is pre-Premier League. He came out onto the pitch at Old Trafford, did keepy-uppies in front of the Stretford end. He never took over. Everybody thought he would. So that always makes me think, until these negotiations are sorted out, and they will be quite long and protracted, it ain't done. But I am pretty confident, because as I say, I've heard whispers from inside the club that a lot of the people inside the club that know that she's been there more than once know that there's been conversations about her getting involved and her husband. And look, she doesn't come in on her own. If you look at the takeover at Manchester City that led to Sheikh Mansour taking over there, the takeover at Newcastle United, which is probably the one that she gets more recognition of, she never came in, and it wasn't all her own money. She brought in people that had pretty deep pockets. Well, yeah, deep pockets, lots of cash. And so the question is, who are those people? Saudi investment, Qatari investment? If I had to put money, it would probably be Middle Eastern investment. And as I say, Daniel is, for all the good that seems to be coming out of the club in terms of stories, good stories, training ground, London Stadium, we want to keep our players. In fact, that's the other thing. From what I understand, Daniel's right-hand man, and as I say, I hope I'm not mangling the pronunciation, Czech is not my mother tongue, Yuri Schwarz, he's sent an email to the players and their agents to say, you're staying. Now, ultimately, I think we're not stupid, and they're not stupid. people will be moved on for one reason or another. Sometimes it might be because the player is agitating for a move and their agent. Sometimes it might be that actually we want them out the door for one reason or another. But it's a statement of intent from the club to say, well, we might have been relegated, but actually this owner can afford to keep you here if he chooses to do so. I think it's strong. But as I say, it will be interesting to see who Amanda brings with her in terms of the investment. Also, I guess you've also got to factor in, like I say, the fact that Daniel prefers to operate behind the shit scenes, in the shadows. He's an investor. He will spur things into the right direction. There's no doubt about that. There's also, though, you know, one thing I will say, and I don't want to sort of bring the conversation back down to earth with a bump, but there are people that would argue, you know, you're saying this about Daniel Kaczynski, but have you seen what he's done with the Royal Mail? Have you seen what he, you know, go and talk to a Sparta Prague fan about what they think about him? You're always going to have different arguments. You're always going to have someone with a counterpoint. That's fair enough. I'm preferring to stay positive. I mean, I think that's generally my default position, is that I try and see the best. Sometimes it leads to disappointment, but all this talk about players being told they're not necessarily going to be kicked out purely because of financial reasons, the London Stadium improvements that are potentially being spoken about, the training ground getting all sorted out, they're all positive stories. We're used to, over the last 16 years, about stories coming out, and even the good stories have probably had a sort of like a subplot that has been not so good a lot of the time. But we'll see. Also, little side note, I see that one of our pre-season friendlies is away at Ibrox against Rangers, and I've got to be honest, I'm thinking about going to that one because I've never been to Scotland. But my great grandmother, I never knew her. My granddad's mum, she was from Dundee, so I do have a little bit of Scottish heritage in me. So, but I've never been to Scotland, never been to Dundee, never been to Scotland, never been to Glasgow. Do you say Glasgow or do you say Glasgow? I call it Glasgow, but you do you. Yeah. Also Stevenage and Southend, I think, are the two. I've been to Roots Hall before. Never been to Stevenage. What's their ground? I'm trying to think. Is it the Lamex? I think that's right. The Lamex Stadium. Not the Amex Stadium, the Lamex. Anyway. Bit grey and overcast here. Hopefully by the time I'm at Twickenham, this all clears off. Sun pops out. There'll be a few beverages sunk. Look, it's the rugby. Everybody has a beer or two. Nobody turns up there and has a lemonade, do they? Well, I don't. There'll be a few beverages sunk. I'm taking the present Mrs. Gates with me. You wouldn't believe it. She's actually turning 50 next week. She looks good on it. To be fair, all of the sort of like the cooks, the cleaners, the gardeners, all of those things do take a lot of the weight off of her shoulders, to be fair. I look after her. She's a very lucky girl. Anyway, I probably ought to end it there because I think she's about to throw something at me. That's not very nice, is it? Listen, if you've enjoyed this little bit of a waffle on as I'm doing the dog walk, if you've enjoyed some of my musings, either on this video or maybe on another video that you saw that you didn't feel compelled to do what I'm about to ask you, it would be appreciated if you do it this time. If you've appreciated the content, put a thumbs up on this video, number one. Number two, go to the YouTube channel, click subscribe and hit the notification bell. And don't forget to put a comment in the section below on all of this. one other thing also, maybe consider sharing this on your social media platforms. That could help. Anyway, it's onwards and upwards now. What's the next waypoint? 2,500 subs and then 3,000 beyond that. Still got a long way to go till I get to where that website the other day that I saw. It's called The Engineering Mindset, I think it's called, The Engineer's Mindset. And it was on the day that we broke 2,000 subs, so I was feeling quite chipper. And then someone told me about a website, and it was a completely separate conversation. And I'll say, I can't remember if it's The Engineer's Mindset or The Engineering Mindset. 4.39 million subscribers. Did that bring me back down to earth with a bump or what? Anyway, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share onto your social media platforms, and drop a comment in the section below. We'll see you next time. Come on, you irons.